Hello everyone, welcome to Coffee Cup Enlightenment. Today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give a guided meditation. And the goal of this meditation is to bring awareness to things that we commonly become identified with. And the ultimate main thing that we become identified with is the conceptual self. And the conceptual self comprises of it's an image of who we think we are. And I can sort of use as an example this, going back to this example of this is who we actually are, which is just the one that sees, the observer. And it doesn't have any concepts to it. And what we look at is all these bunch of ideas. And these ideas over the years have gradually stacked on top of each other, layer upon layer, and have been added upon, have been deleted, have been subtracted, have been exchanged for new ideas. Old ideas have been faded away and new ones have replaced it. And this, which is us, focuses on that and doesn't know itself yet as this, which is conceptless awareness. And this guided meditation is designed to sort of bring light, to expose the nature of concepts, and see how if we just sort of conduct an investigation here in this video and see what happens when we expose certain concepts and ideas to the light of our awareness, and see what happens when we do this. All concepts and ideas are fluctuating. They're never ending. They're ceaseless. It's a bottomless pit of never ending ideas. And I probably shouldn't say really never ending. They probably do eventually come to an end. There's only so much ideas out there that this consciousness can temporarily confuse itself with. And that's why I guess, yeah, generally speaking, the more older we get, these concepts naturally drop away, and eventually what's left is this. And that's why generally for some elderly people there's much light in them, because they've seen it all. They've seen all the concepts come, pretend to be so important, and then go. And then they watch the next generation do the same thing as that they did, and it just brings more light to their own awareness. So there's much wisdom in the elderly people, because they've gone through much processes of seeing the falsehood of concepts and eventually getting a self-evident experience of what's left. Concepts come and go. They're in ceaseless motion and ceaseless change, but whatever remains, what's constant, is you. This thing never goes. It's always there since the day you were born. And is forever out, looking out into the world, even though it's mesmerized by what it sees and it's forgotten. This video is going to attempt to bring you into a bit of a meditation to see the ideas of concepts. And I've written down a bit of a list here. So say if your conceptual self consisted of a fearful idea. So I'll just put this all down here. This is who I am. It's some sort of a fearful flavoured concept. That's who I am. I know who I am. This consciousness believes temporarily. And then eventually, if you look at this concept, you'll see it's just a concept. Then it fades away. And then another concept will replace it, which is the opposite of fearful. I'm a courageous person. That's who I am. So now you have the fearful concept and now courageous concept. And even this, although it's a positive concept, even this can be looked at, and this doesn't even need to be identified with. And then the next one is I know exactly who I am. I am weak. And this is a concept, and the consciousness is following this concept. And then even this concept becomes unstable eventually, and it gets replaced by I am strong. Now I know who I am. I am strong. But eventually you see, if you sit still and stand back and just look at this concept, I am strong, is it really needed? What happens when you just look at a concept, even as positive as this one, and seemingly necessary as this one? If you sit quiet and see that it too is just a concept, and do I really need it? What does it do to me? What sort of corresponding reaction does even this concept bring, even though it's somewhat of a positive flavoured one? And if this eventually dissolves, will I truly become weak? And let's just test what happens. It's gone now, yet I'm still here, still looking. I don't feel any different from the absence of the concept of strong. Possibly feel a little bit different from the absence of the concept of weak. But even positive concepts, if you sit still in this, and once that cloud passes, what remains here? Even such a positive concept as strong doesn't stay in your vision 24/7. It eventually subsides a bit, and then maybe it comes up under certain situations. But the fact that even if you look into your day-to-day experience, any concept doesn't sit there all the time. They're continually being replaced in front of your vision, and then eventually some concepts, as you get older, you just see they become meaningless. And let's say I know who I am now. I'm a sad person. That's who I am. I'm sad. And then eventually there's a lot of attention being given to this, and importance and absolute belief, and it becomes identified as your identity. And then this too gets seen as just a concept. Now it's becoming unstable. And see if you can feel, as I'm saying these words, what's happening to you as this, if it were to look at this concept of sadness and not identify it as you, but you're the one that's looking at it, but not it. What happens to even this concept? And notice we're not trying to get rid of anything here. When anything that's passing through our perception, we're not trying to get rid of it. We're not trying to deny it. We're not trying to create other belief systems to override what we're trying to see, to manipulate. All we're doing is we're just sitting still, remaining quiet, and conducting a simple self-inquiry, an investigation to what is true and what is not. Everything that passes has nothing to do with who you are, and that remains is the truth. And this thing can never be shifted. It never moves. It doesn't have nothing to do with any concept, no matter how grand and how the meaning the concept is. Not both are false. And there's such a power in just this, that you already are. Let's go into the next concept, and then you say, excuse me, I'm running out of plates here. You say, then I'm happy. That's who I am. I'm a happy person. That's my identity. Now I finally found it. Now I can hold on to this concept, and it can be with me forever. But even this goes, it doesn't stay with you for the whole day. And so something can come and go. It mustn't be who you are. And then eventually we stand back and look at happy. As much as it's a positive concept, it creates a lot of nice energies in the body and that. But is this too even needed? Can we look at the relationship that we have with this concept and what it creates? Is it possible that it could be just a pseudo-happiness, and what remains here is already happy and doesn't need a concept? Who would you be without trying to hug on to and hold on to a happy concept? Would it truly make you unhappy? Would you like to investigate and discover this for yourself? What happens if you just stare at a concept such as happy? the next concept is shameful. That's who I am. I am shameful. I've known this all my life. But you didn't know it when you were a baby, before concepts came into your vision. Yet let's suppose this is who you are. I am shameful. And then eventually this becomes exposed. It becomes tired after a while, and it begins to wear off, and its importance begins to fade. Even this concept doesn't hold any meaning anymore. And then another concept, which is the opposite, I am prideful. I have pride. That's who I am. I'm a person of pride. And then this becomes your identity. Do you need even this concept? Can you notice what it does to create a sense of separate self by holding and or following this concept and give it an importance and meaning? What would happen in the absence of even this concept, pride? Will you become unprideful? Will you become meaningless? Will you become diminished? What about investigating even this one? And then another concept comes. I know exactly who I am. I've known this my whole life. I am shy. And there's many stories to back this up. And this is who I am. I am shy. And then eventually some natural experiences happen in your life where this concept becomes a bit shaky. Where you're forced to step out and certain actions are taken and certain words, and then this concept doesn't seem to match up to this identity anymore. It's trying to squeeze back in, but it just can't seem to do that. What happens when this concept is exposed in the light of your awareness and you look at it? Silently, I am shy. Is that true? And then eventually this concept begins to fade. And then the last concept for this meditation is I am confident. That's who I am. I finally discovered the truth. I am confident. And then you identify with that. But again, this concept doesn't sit with you for the whole day. It becomes rocked and unstable, and it's not consistent. Do you really need this concept, even though it's quite a positive one? Confident. I am confident. Would you become unconfident if you didn't have this concept within your vision? What would happen to this concept if you looked at it? I am confident. Is that true? Do I need the concept of confident? Would I truly be unconfident if I didn't identify with this concept of being confident? And then eventually that fades. And look how clean the table is now. How simple it is, and how fresh the world looks. How light the world is now, with nothing on top of it. How true the world looks, because there's nothing filtering your vision anymore. Whatever comes into your day's experience, it's meant to be there, because there's identification with it. And as sort of described in previous videos, the only reason there's identification with it because there's that pie of your consciousness that hasn't been revealed yet. Any concept that comes into your vision and that's identified with only exists in this, only happens because there's a part of your consciousness that's awaiting, that's calling out. And this pie of consciousness actually is attracting these concepts as a temporary substitute to identify with as something until it knows itself. And once it's exposed this consciousness, these concepts cannot be deliberately identified with anymore, no matter how hard you try. So in turn, that all these concepts, I've only gone through a few major spectrums here of our conceptual self, but all of them represent, there's like a magnetic attraction to them. It's our consciousness wanting to reveal itself, to know itself more than ever before. And if we can examine and just investigate concepts, they'll do what their purpose was. They'll be perceived as neutral and just represent the key to open your consciousness more and see that I am not that, but I am the one that sees that. And then it disappears and you know yourself more than ever before. And that's the gift of all concepts. It seems like such a tragedy that they create such heaviness, obscure our vision, and things become wobbly and shaky, but they're only there temporarily. And all we need to do is just see them in a non-personal nature. If there's any personalness when you're trying to look at a concept, it's this conceptual self that starts judging, throwing judgments. And then I've only got two hands here, but then you can watch that judgment from the mind. If you're trying to do an investigation and you're looking at a particular concept and then the mind starts throwing resistances, this is just the last aspect of the disidentification from a particular concept. It's natural and normal that this happens. As you're trying to look at it, the mind will start throwing judgments and resistances about it. And then if you identify with this one, the judgment and resistance, it keeps the identification process in place. And now you're identified with that, and this concept will still stay in place. So yeah, if a concept comes into your vision and you're looking at it, also look at any mind judgments that come into the picture as well, and look at both of them. I'm the one that watches this whole theatrics of play, and then eventually that subsides, and that subsides with it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that meditation. If you have any questions and comments, please post them below. Thank you.